another episode of the Screen Addicts podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Cinema, Steven Sosa.
And I'm your other co-host, Chris. I'm just so excited for tonight. Vegas.
This is a big one, Chris. This is
It
one that
is.
we've been waiting for, as if we've been preparing for the All Valley tournament for the last 2 weeks. We are ready
have.
to put on our geese because tonight we are reviewing our favorite scenes from all three, well, I guess all four of the Karate Kid movies. Because
5?
today, no, it's just the next Karate. Well, if you count the Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith one, which I
And-
don't think we do at this particular
Okay.
moment, but we're just gonna stick with the Miyagi verse as it has been notated to me. And what we're gonna be doing since today, as of today, we are recording. Today is the 40th anniversary of the theatrical release of the Karate Kid, which not only makes me feel old as Mr. Miyagi, but it's just kind of crazy how much time has passed. And it's really weird whenever we see these movies that we grew up watching as children. Now we're in our seasoned years, and it's just
Yeah.
it's crazy. But what we are going to be doing is we are bringing in a very special guest, one that is I think it's pretty safe to say he is on the professional pro expert top level of this franchise. And Peter, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I am doing fantastic. I have dusted off my gi. I had to go steal a black belt out of a gym bag. A
You
Planet
didn't have to steal
Fitness.
it. We will send you one because, like I
JCPenney
said,
is your sponsor.
Right.
prior to this show tonight, Peter is the black belt in this dojo 100%.
Appreciate you guys. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here. Is
So
this
Peter,
my first?
Yeah,
I think-
matter of fact, yes,
Okay,
it is.
yeah.
And I guess to the listeners, me and Chris have been guests on your show. So then
Mhm.
this is actually the first time that you've been able to come on our show. So it's nice that we're having this back and forth. And whenever me and Chris were laying out some of the shows that we had upcoming, we saw that the Karate Kid anniversary was coming up, and I said, "Oh my gosh, we gotta get Peter on for this one because this is a big one.
Mhm.
This is one that he would bring so much information to." So, I mean, tell some of our listeners that may not be familiar with some of your work, some of your shows that you've been doing, and the tremendous work that you've accomplished with your podcast.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I've been podcasting that's what it was. So I've been podcasting for 8 years. In one of your previous episodes, you guys brought up, Chris, I think you reminded Steven that, we've been doing this for 8 years. And that prompted me to think, my God, has it been that long? But yeah, I've been podcasting for 10 years. And with my movie podcast, both of you guys have been on there. Chris, you came on to do a fun one-off Friends trivia where you hosted. A lot of fun. And then at that point, you sold off Steven to me for a few 80s movies. And Steven would come on and return some of like my ultimate favorite 80s movies that people kind of shit a little bit more upon, but we love it unironically. Howard the Duck, Bloodsport, Big Trouble in Little China, Only the Strong. If you guys like those movies, check it out on Podstalgic. Steven has been on those. But on Podstalgic in 2017, I believe it was, I decided to do the Karate Kid retrospective, all four movies. And actually, we had only planned to do the first movie. My guest was coming on to do the first movie, Tom from Jake and Tom Conquer the World, and he had such a good time reviewing that first movie. I think I just kind of tossed it to him like, you want to do part two? Because we were kind of talking about the ending and how abrupt it was, and we're like, yeah, part two, it picks up right after that moment. And so we did two, then we ultimately did three, and then I have a gal pal podcast friend that has a friend that was in part three, and then I was like, you know what, we were a little unkind in our review of that movie. And she was like, oh, he knows it's a bad movie. And so I was like, I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take an interview. So it was with Sensei William Christopher Ford. So Sensei William, he plays Dennis from Karate Kid 3, and he was my very first interview in the Miyagi-verse, which was not coined yet at that time. And I believe it was Tom's co-host that told me sometime shortly after our Karate Kid reviews, he was like, "Oh, they're gonna do a show called Cobra Kai, and it's gonna be like a sequel to that first movie." Or I kind of forget the language he actually says, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun." And at the time, I was part of a podcast network, and we had an official TV podcast, and any of the hosts can come on and do any coverages, and I go, oh, maybe I'll just do like one episode covering that first season. That sounds like fun, and when the show drops, I had, like I think YouTube Red was only giving you the first 2 episodes for free, and then you had to start a trial or subscribe. And so after work, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna watch, the first 2 episodes. It's 1 hour, no big deal. I watched it. I go, shit, and I gotta start a free trial, and then I ended up binging the entire first season that night. I probably didn't even stay up that late. Really, I remember sitting at the dinner table, even watching it on my phone. I was like, I can't stop. And after putting out some episode reviews, and then within a month, I got my first interview from the Cobra Kai show, and that was Joe Suh, who plays Kyler. And then I got Moon, and then I got Yasmin, and then I got Dimitri and Aisha. And then I felt bad, like I was starting to oversaturate this podcast with like just Cobra Kai shit, and I was like, I don't see this stopping, like because I like to grind, and once I get going, I can't stop. And so that's when I started Cobra Kai Companion, and kind of the rest is history. But some of the other shows, like I have branched off. I have turned that Companion name. I spell it with the K, specifically because if you ever type in like Cobra Kai Companion spelled with a K, it's all me, right? If you type in C Companion, you're gonna get like things unrelated to me and suggesting like, oh, do you mean this? And so it's undeniably like my content that will show up if you search for that. And so yeah, I one of the writers from the show would go on to showrun Twisted Metal, and I love his writing so much. And a lot of his episodes are Miyagi centric. The Miyagi letters from Okinawa, Miyagi's bedroom in season 5, so great. And I'm like, if he's attached to it, I will cover Twisted Metal. And so I just did that. On a gamble, just based off his attachment alone. And so that's kind of my main stuff right now, Cobra Kai and Twisted Metal.
Well, and Obliterated too. The Obliterated Companion as well, because both me and Chris, we loved Obliterated. That was a great show.
Such a good show.
Yeah, sadly it did get canceled. I did cover Obliterated. It's still there, and we plan to at least do the episode reviews before we really put it on the shelf. And so if anybody does like that show, I interviewed that entire cast minus Tommy Howell.
Okay. Oh, see, Tommy Howell,
yeah. There was 8 of them, and I got 7 of them.
That's pretty good.
I got Ava Winters. I got Chad McKnight. Tech Girl. I'm kind of forgetting their names because it's been a minute. But Eugene the pilot. Trunk.
Trunk.
Yeah,
that's
Trunk,
Chris's
Elephant
favorite
Trunk.
character.
That's my dude.
I got the screeners for that, and I saw it like a month early, and I had nobody to talk to. And one of the creators who created Cobra Kai, that's why I covered that show. I was like, I got no one to talk to. Like this sucks getting like these so early. And he's like, you can talk to me. And so I just started like live messaging him anytime I was watching an episode. And so I remember saying like, why is he called Trunk? Wait a minute, it's not because like he's hung like a trunk, right? And then he's like, correct.
You're damn right.
Yeah. So that was wild because also like Shelley Hennig, who plays Ava Winters, she's huge, Teen Wolf, and I'm forgetting that one, Unfriend, was that the
Unfriended or
Unfriended? I think that was she was in that as well, but I had no business talking to her, and just because of like my connections alone, that's how I was able to land all of those. But Nick Zano, so that was a fun one too, but anyway, Obliterated Companion. The Companion Network is what it's called now on YouTube, and that's where like the majority of my interviews are, like 80% of them. I still have a bunch of stuff like pre 2020 that's just like all audio, and so I just need to convert those, slap an image on it, and put those up. But once 2020 hit and everybody was on Zoom, that's when I started my channel and tried to be competitive. I don't know what the hell I'm doing on YouTube, but it's just like, well, I don't want my stuff, kind of like, go to the wayside or whatever just because of the audio podcast. But it's been a really fun ride. You said the professional side. I'm not sure the exact wording, but I got mentioned in Variety for the Cobra Kai Companion podcast, and also I was approved for media to go work the Paley Fest in LA where they did Cobra Kai night, and so like most of those guys has seen me before, and so a lot of them got to meet me in person, and there I got some interviews I was never able to land just because there's a higher publicized actors. So at this
awesome.
point, I've interviewed just about the entire cast and a lot of the crew from Cobra Kai. I can name all the names on one hand of the kind of the quote unquote main cast and recurring characters that I have not yet interviewed.
Mm-hmm. Well, man, that's tremendous work, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
And don't worry, we're going to tag all your shows in the show notes and stuff. So anybody that listens to our show will be able to find your show without any problem. And I was really just wanting you to put all that out there because I wanted our audience to know that we brought the best of the best.
Appreciate
tonight.
you, yes.
And
that's
so
the wrong
before
karate
we go,
movie. Wrong karate movie.
Oh, damn it! That's the
that
Eric.
is
That's Eric
right.
Roberts one. I'm sorry.
Best of the best.
You're right. Hey, but that's one of your favorites, though, Chris. I'm trying to butter you up.
Baby.
But before we do anything Karate Kid related, we're going to do just a couple of our normal segments. You know, a few things that we may have recently watched. And I have one headline, and if there's any other headlines that you guys want to share, by all means. But first, we're going to do recently watched. So, Chris, if there's anything that you watched, I know it was kind of a short week, and because we recorded earlier, like just earlier this week, and we kind of pushed this release date or this recording time. So, if you don't have as much, it's no big deal because it's kind of a short window here. But if anything you'd like to share, please do so.
I just have a couple. I started binging a bunch of Food Network shows where chopped some food competition shows, super corny, but one was really fun to watch. It's called Wild Card Kitchen, where they kind of play poker with cooking stuff, cooking cards, and you have to cook with these certain cards that are drawn for you and stuff like that. It's always fun because I'm like, this is what I would make, and it's even better when I'm like, this is what I would make, and then that's what they actually make. I'm like, yeah, I could be on one of these shows. Probably not, but I like to think.
I think you could. You should throw your hat in the ring, man.
Bro, I don't know. These are well seasoned chefs, bro.
So a white hat. I would throw that white hat anywhere.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
And then
a Hefe hat.
That's right. I also am halfway through the new Jessica Alba movie, Triggered.
Trigger warning.
Trigger warning. Yeah.
On Netflix, and not too bad so far. It's your typical Netflix movie, action movie. We kind of touched on something that kind of is like this movie. We kind of touched on it last week, where this small little petite girl is taking on these huge ass men and just meleeing them. And this is Jessica Alba just trumping everybody, dude. It's crazy. But it's Jessica Alba, so of course I'm gonna watch it.
I heard there's a Brat Pack in there, isn't there?
Yes, Anthony Michael Hall was in that. Yeah.
So it's not too bad. Like I said, I'm halfway through it, so I need to finish that one up. And then there's one more I watched. I don't know if you want me to talk about it because it's your headline-ish.
No, you go ahead. It's okay.
Well, because of Steven's headline, we'll get into a little bit later. I watched the movie Backdraft, 1991. Such an amazing movie. I love this movie. And I didn't remember, because it's been so long since I've watched it, that Donald Sutherland is actually not in this movie very much.
No.
Like maybe a total of 5-6 minutes screen time, but in that 5 to 6 minutes, he's so good, man. So freaking good. And he plays an amazing villain-ish.
Yeah.
So, but Backdraft, if you have never seen it or never heard about it, definitely go check it out. You can rent it on Amazon. I had to rent it because there's not streaming anywhere. Damn you, Tubi. You have everything except for that.
I saw your post about that, and I guess it's one of your friends that commented that, or they asked wherever you watched it or where it was streaming or something. And I didn't want to be that guy to hold up my backdraft 4K hard copy that I could just go put right in my Blu-ray. But I'm just saying, hard copies, baby, they still come in clutch when you need them to.
And I was wondering, I was like, man, maybe I could go, like, if somebody has it somewhere. But then I got to thinking, I don't even own a Blu-ray player or DVD player anymore. So I'm like, I wouldn't even have nowhere to freaking play it.
It's funny because there was a guy at work that was saying that he wanted to watch. It was Connor who was on our hockey movie episode, right? And we were talking about Youngblood. I was like, oh, dude, I just got the Blu-ray of Youngblood. You can watch it. He was like, I don't have a Blu-ray player. I'm like, oh well, then go rent the damn thing. Took it personally. But yeah.
But that's all I've watched. So really quickly, but some good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'll go real quick too. I had watched Trigger Warning as well because still an Alba fan. I didn't really. It was formulaic at best. I mean, it's pretty like you said. It's a pretty generic action movie. There's nothing game changing about it. And some of the sets and some of the special effects, it looked kind of low budget, which is surprising because it isn't. And it was like, this is a Netflix original movie. You watch something like, what was the Gal Gadot movie last year? What was that, Stone or Heart of Stone or something like that?
Yeah, it was
like
Heart
that
of
movie
Stone.
was actually pretty decent. Like it looked expensive. So I'm like, okay, so this is the kind of approach that they're going to take with some of these original action movies. And Extraction, the Hemsworth movies. Like those movies look like legit $100 million budgeted movies.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching this one. I was like, oh my God, this looked like those old straight to DVD movies from the early 2000s.
To the Smallville era.
Man, I love it. Hey man, those were beautiful pieces of art. And but yeah, this had no business looking like that though. And it was formulaic at best to say so. And then I watched the Bratz documentary on Hulu, in which if you go to Podstalgic, you will hear a review of me and Peter doing the a review of the Bratz movie,
which
so I would suggest...
made me watch because I listened to the episode and I was like, well, damn it, now I gotta go watch this thing because I was like, okay, and then y'all get into it and I'm like, oh shit, now I gotta go watch this thing.
Well, what did you think of it? Since our perspective is out there on his show, like, what did you think of it?
Oh man, I mean, everything lines up with what y'all say about this thing. It's very interesting. If you ever, want to know backstory about this, it's pretty good. It goes pretty in depth and a lot of things that you would never even think of. That I mean, kind of like y'all said. I mean, you go into it thinking, well, all these guys are, all these cast members and stuff are friends. They're cool. And then when y'all were talking about like, yeah, they hadn't talked in forever, I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So if I can bring this tidbit up, I actually just texted Steven earlier today. Anthony Michael Hall. That's why I threw in his name when you were talking about Trigger Warning, because he was on David Spade and Dana Carvey's podcast, A Fly on the Wall, and it's basically they have people come on that have like hosted or written on or were players on SNL, and Anthony Michael Hall was on, I believe, at least one season when RDJ was on there as well. And even David Spade was all like, hey, where do we sign up to be a Brat Pack? And like he kind of didn't really like gloss over that, but Carvey did ask him like, oh, are you in that? And he's like, no, like I just I like to move forward, instead of like looking back kind of thing, and I was just like, what's that about?
It's funny that, well, I'm sorry, when we didn't even talk about how Anthony Michael Hall literally reinvented himself physically, especially after those movies. Because if you see him in, like Johnny Be Good or Out of Bounds or what was it, like Edward Scissorhands, he's kind of this like beefed up jock jerk type character. And I think he was really trying to put past that nerdy character that he always got saddled with in those movies. And I guess that's probably his perspective of that. But he probably got bullied quite a bit for those parts. And I'm pretty sure.
I didn't know these trivia, but he turned down to lead Ferris Bueller's Day Off. They talked about that.
Wow.
I was like, oh, that's new to me. Like, I'm sure people know that maybe. And then the other one that he turned down was Pretty in Pink.
Oh,
and I believe he was supposed to be
Ducky.
Ducky. Yeah,
That makes sense. That makes
yeah.
sense.
So
But
yeah, he just said like I played those characters, and
yeah.
he feels bad in hindsight,
Mhm.
say turning down John Hughes, but yeah, well, that's that whole era, man. That was such an interesting documentary, and yeah, that's just the biggest like needle scratch. It's just like what? Wait, what? You guys don't hang out? You guys aren't friends?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. And yeah, if anybody's seen it, it's on Hulu. It's Hulu's #1 streamer from last week, probably still to this week. But yeah, speaking of Hulu, another thing that I watched, Connor, my son, was like, "What are those?" I don't know how he phrased it exactly. He's like, "I feel like watching one of those goofy, dumb comedy movies that you used to like." I'm like, "What do you mean, like spoofs?" And he's like, "Yeah, what's a good spoof we can watch?" And I know he had seen it when he was a little kid, but I know he didn't remember. I was like, "Well, I do kind of feel like watching Hot Shots." So we put on
Oh
Hot Shots,
yeah.
and oh man, he was laughing his ass off. He's like, "Oh my god, this is so funny!" And of course, I was like, "Who's your favorite character?" He's like, "Oh, the Admiral." I'm like, "Lloyd Bridges." I'm like, "Yeah, he's kind of a scene stealer." And then after it was over, the brilliant thing about Hot Shots is like in the end credits, they even post like recipes for brownies, like in the middle of the end credits. Like everything about that movie is a gag. And so I was like, well, there's a sequel. It's Hot Shots Part Dia, and it's like a send up of the Rambo movies. He's like, oh man, yeah, we'll have to watch that tomorrow. So we're gonna watch that as well. And
Part 1 does have the best way to ever cook a steak too, by the way.
yeah, right on Valeria Golino's abs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet that would do it.
Steven,
But
did you
man,
hear what I said on Podstalgic or what I watched recently too?
no, what is that?
Hot Shots Part 2.
Oh, yeah, I did you? I didn't even catch
Yeah,
that.
because we talked about Top Secret also coming out the same week as the Karate Kid.
Oh wow,
Oh.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, when you were
And
doing your releases, right? You in the
right,
and okay, yeah. Wow, that's so funny.
which is funny because I thought that was a 1985 movie. So I mean, I might have gotten something wrong
Mhm.
because the Karate Kid is 84, obviously.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah,
Well,
yeah, just watch Hot Shots. But Spaceballs, he's seen Spaceballs.
yeah, he saw that one.
Okay,
He loves that one. Well, it's funny because like I was trying to tell him, I said, it would be better if you understood the jokes in context. But then when I thought about it, I was like, well, when I
no,
saw Hot Shots the first time, I didn't know all the movies it was making fun of, and it was still funny. I mean, that's the thing about a good spoof is like it could take a concept or an idea and turn it into some funny gags, and that's
Mhm.
something that the like Aaron Seltzer and Jason Friedberg don't do right with their spoofs, like the epic movie, disaster movie, Meet the Spark. Like those are awful. Like I can't watch those. They're not funny. They basically reenact the scene word for word and say it in a different manner or have a different cadence or a different physical movement. I'm like, no, that's not a spoof. You're just recreating it and making fun of it. It's
Oh,
not
like
the same
like
thing.
Willow.
What do you mean, like Willow?
Willow
What do you
was
say, Willow?
because the TV show was crap and they tried to do new
Well, but
dialogue.
at least Willow was a
Nah,
sequel
it's
to
a
what it's
spoof.
already was. I'm
Crap.
man, I'm standing by Willow. Me and Warwick, we go back, man, and I'm sticking with him no matter what. And I hate that didn't do so well. I was like, come on, man, be better. This will be better. This will get better in the next episode. But unfortunately, I don't think it does. Like kind of like The Boys, that's been consistently good.
Yes.
Homelander, what's his name? Anthony Starr. There's been a lot of rumblings for people who are like, he deserves an Emmy. He deserves an Emmy. I'm like, where have you people been? This guy's deserved an Emmy since season 1. This is one of the best villains I've ever seen, period. Like movies, TV. He's just so deranged and unhinged and uncontrollable. It's just such the perfect villain. And this last episode, man, it's like if you don't believe it after that one, I can't tell you anything about it. I can't convince you otherwise. But yeah, Boys is still good. I started watching the Pitch Perfect spinoff with
nailed
Adam
it.
Devine. Yeah, nailed it. The or no, what does Amy say? Crushed it. But the Bumper in Berlin spin-off series with Adam Devine, where it takes his character Bumper from the Pitch Perfect movies, and he ends up in Germany because he thinks he's a big star there, and he ends up cutting an album. It's actually really funny. I don't know what composed me. I'll tell you what, I saw this Adam Devine TikTok. I was like, man, this guy's so funny. I loved him in Workaholics. I liked him in pretty much most of the movies he does. And I'm like, I'm gonna watch that show. I remember seeing it, and I started it. It's a quick 6 episodes. There's only like 30 minutes an episode. I'm almost done with it, and I started it in a single day. So if you like Pitch Perfect, I recommend that show. And I think that's all I had, for this week so far. So Peter, if you want to share anything that you've recently watched, please do so.
Yeah, sure. Bratz, like you mentioned.
Mhm.
Sorry guys, I'm starting to get a little stuffy because of allergies. So,
Oh, it's the season.
It is the season, and I'm a mailman, so I work outdoors. So
Ooh,
I'm definitely gonna blow my nose after I speak here. But
sounds good.
so Bratz, I'll get that out of the way. And let me throw out this other thing as well. It's a show that you guys are gonna be like, what? But Full House. I'm going back and rewatching Full House.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
I have a 5.5-year-old daughter who just adores Stephanie and DJ. She thinks it's hilarious, but also, if you guys aren't familiar, Jodie Sweetin and Andrea Barber, they have a podcast, Hello Tanneritos, and so they're going back and they're like deep diving into these episodes, and they're coming at it from with 20, 23, 24 eyes, as moms, as adults, and questioning all of the things that was going on set, and like Sam would not be happy with that, like I love it. It's a fresh perspective, and Jodie Sweetin like never watched those episodes, so she's like watching most of these for like the very first time.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
So yeah, so that's a lot of fun. So it's been great to hear like their kind of fun stories from each episode, but also watching the episode and introducing it to my daughter. So it still holds up for a younger audience. So yeah, that's what I've been watching. And then the other one is there's 8 seasons of it, and it's a documentary. And it's it's not just true crime. It's a lot about everything. It's called How It Really Happened. I started from season 1. And sorry guys, like I am struggling right now with my
Yeah.
the allergies, but I guess the new host is Jesse L. Martin from The Flash.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it started off with Hill Harper, and every episode there, sometimes there's like a 2-part or whatever. It's like they just kind of go in deeper with the situation or the murder or a trial or whatever. So the first 2 episodes were the Menendez brothers, and I did not know that this was like the first kind of publicized trial, in a sense where they had cameras in the courtroom. And then like the next one would be OJ, and kind of the connection between the Menendez brothers and OJ, who had previously met and all that stuff. So I'm gonna cut it short right there so I can blow my nose. But that's all I've been watching. But in terms of headlines, like you guys want to touch on like Justin Timberlake, since you guys just did an episode?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
My boy.
we'll move on to headlines now.
My boy.
And yeah, I thought that was kind of hilarious how our Justin Timberlake themed episode completely backfired. It crashed.
It did
unlike
backfire.
Justin Timberlake.
You name one other pop star, rock star that doesn't do that. I mean, come on.
Well, sure. I just thought the timing was just like, perfect. This is either good or bad, and it actually turned out to be both. So I was like, okay, well, our ratings went up a bit for it, so that's good. But yeah, we had to put a note in the release of all of the episodes saying, this was, and not to defend the guy or anything. I mean, what he did was what he did, but just to say that people, if they listen to that episode, they're like, why didn't you even talk about his DUI? Why didn't you talk about him getting arrested? I'm like, well, because it literally happened the day after we posted the episode, so we had to put that editorial out there. But yeah, that is a big headline. He was arrested on a DUI charge, and I guess he didn't really. Did he say something, Chris? Did you read him? Didn't he make a comment or something?
There was definitely reports about him like, do you know who I am? And also like, oh, this is gonna ruin the tour. He's like, what tour? My world tour. And so that's why there's all like these trolls memes, world tour. And so yeah. So like all jokes aside, like I love NSYNC. Like I have famously shared that like me and my
they're going on tour next year.
Guy friends.
Be ready.
okay, I will. I have adult money now, guys. Best
Yeah.
believe.
We're going multiple times.
So younger audiences, you guys, save your money, because when you have adult money, you get to do all the fun shit you wanted to do as a kid.
Damn right.
But yeah, like Asian Sync, that was me and my friends. We would go karaoke all the time and sing like all the boy band songs. And so I love me some boy bands, but it's just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're a father, and like you're out there driving, maybe not recklessly, but you could endanger yourself and other people. Like, dude,
get an Uber. You're
like,
rich.
Exactly.
You're rich.
Buy a fucking Uber. Like, what are you doing?
Don't
There's
you
no
have
excuse.
a driver? Like,
Yeah,
come
Somebody
on,
set
bro.
example, man.
Call your wife. Like anything.
I'll call
It's
your
just-
wife. I mean, never mind.
But yes.
Well, the reports were seeing that you were spotted with her, Chris. So you better be careful, man.
I know. I'm sorry.
The paparazzi's after you, man.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, that's so irresponsible for that to even be a case.
I also threw that in there, not only to tie the previous episode, but also I wanted to kind of add my 2 cents about Alpha Dog. Love that movie as well. And for those that were interested in checking it out and have not yet, after hearing that episode, it does deal. It is based on true events. Like that's another reason that it drew me to that particular story. And obviously, all those young cast members. It introduced us to Anton Yelchin. Like he's fucking amazing, and he has a lot to do. But Ben Foster, holy shit!
That cast is incredible, man.
So good.
Men,
so
the
good.
men and women in that, like the guys and girls, they're all around. It's such a strong cast.
So it does deal with some true crime aspects. I'm trying to be as vague as I can, and there's some sequences that it's a little hard to watch. So be warned, but it's worth it. It's worth it. Like rest in peace, Anton Yelchin. It's I thought he would have been like a perfect Marty McFly if we did like a Back for the Future.
Yeah, that would have been. I could have seen that.
Pre Chekhov and everything. The role that sold me was Charlie Bartlett. I believe it was.
Okay.
I think that's the name of it, because
that's the name of the movie too. Yeah.
Well, isn't that also the name of no, it's not. I think Bartlett is the same last name, but I don't think it's the first name. But the Frighteners, Jake Busey's character.
Oh, Johnny Bartlett.
Johnny Bartlett. Okay, so it was a Bartlett. Yeah. Also, I highly recommend. Just because Michael J. Fox. I mean, come on.
I mean, the Frightener, Michael J. Fox, Peter Jackson. I mean, that's a badass movie. I absolutely
it came out in '97. Titanic was ruling everything, and so like movies from '97, a lot of them were
overshadowed.
They were, and there were some great movies that year. Anyway, I mean, Austin Powers also came out that year. So not a bad year to revisit.
Well, was there anything else you'd like to share as far as headlines? Because I know, Chris, do you have any by any chance?
Nope, not me.
I think that's it.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess the big headline here was that the recent passing of actor Donald Sutherland. Chris, you had touched on it when you were watching your Backdraft rewatch that you didn't have on Blu-ray or 4K. And the thing that with Donald Sutherland, it's amazing what a long-standing career that I mean, just four decades. I mean, probably more than that when I think about it. No, he was working in the 70s. This guy's been working for 5 decades. It's just absolutely incredible body of work. He can play anything, mostly villainous roles, and he was just good at it. It was always odd to see him in a heroic presence. Like I remembered in the Italian Job remake from 2003 with Mark Wahlberg and Charlize, where he has the part at the beginning where he plays Charlize's dad, and he gets killed by Edward Norton, like right at the beginning. But before that happens, he is just such a nice, wholesome dad-like character. And as soon as it came on, I was like, oh, well, I guess Donald Sutherland's going to be the bad guy. This is so predictable. And I'm like, oh, wait, he's like Mark Wahlberg's father figure, and he just got killed. I'm like, well, that sucks. But it is always crazy to see him in more positive roles. And I just, like, quick favorite Donald Sutherland movie. Well, you said yours is Backdraft, right, Chris? Yeah, because what is he? He's the crazy arsonist.
He's the crazy arsonist that's already in jail. And I mean, he kind of helps him figure out what's going on.
Very Hannibal Lecter-esque, but yeah, I don't even know where to begin with my favorite Donald Sutherland movie. I think he's hilarious in Space Cowboys.
Oh yeah,
Peter, what do you think?
Oh man, Space Cow. The scene that I always think about when I think about that movie is when he has to read the eye chart, but he had it memorized.
Oh yeah.
It's just it's such a great character. But when you brought up like favorite role, for some reason, and maybe it's because Chris mentioned like how small of a role he has in Backdraft. Like
Mhm.
I don't remember that movie at all. So another movie that he had a really small role in, and I feel is probably one that people often forget about as well is A Time to Kill. You know,
Oh
he
yeah,
was
where he goes to talk to him.
McConaughey's a mentor. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that was pretty good. I think if I thought about it, I think my favorite Donald Sutherland role is Merrick in Buffy the Vampire
I was about
Slayer.
to say you.
I haven't seen
If
that in
you
so
do
long.
not say Buffy, then I will
Yeah, I
be
mean, it's
sad.
like because he's the first Watcher, he's her Watcher, he protects her, he trains her. Again, I was just mentioning about how it's odd to see him in heroic roles, and that is like a
Oh my
great
god.
role, and he is such a
Mm.
dad in that. I mean, kind of like how it transitions into the show with the Watcher who oversees the Slayer. It becomes more of a father-daughter type dynamic, and
Mhm.
he's so good in that movie. But yeah,
Luke
I'm
Perry's
gonna
in
go.
that, right?
Oh yeah, Pike.
Luke. So Luke
That's
Perry,
Chris's boy right there. Is Luke Perry.
Paul Rubens, and
Paul
now
Rubens.
Donald Sutherland.
Holy shit, that's right. Oh
Yeah,
God, I'm
I
sorry,
know.
Chris. I didn't mean to bring up Luke Perry again. But
It's okay.
hey, Peter pointed out they're all dead, not me.
Yeah.
Thanks, Peter. Appreciate that
Hey,
one.
you know, we
Damn, that's
this
crazy.
entire episode we're talking about aging and our
Dying,
heroes,
apparently.
man. Our heroes are gonna start. You know, it's inevitable,
Yeah.
I mean,
as
that's a good
quoted
point.
as by a sensei.
You know, yeah, that's a perfect segue because we want to talk about something positive now. And what's more
Yes.
positive than one of the greatest franchises in American cinema? And that would be the Karate Kid franchise. And again, we are going to just talk about the movies. Like, this is definitely what you call a last second decision because
Oh
what
yeah.
we had originally planned to do was rank our top 3 favorite moments from the entire Miyagi verse. And this includes the Cobra Kai show. But then we were thinking, there's a lot in that show that happens that's really great and arguably better than anything that happens in the movies. So the premiere of the next Peter, can you give us the dates for this final season because I know it's broken up into 2 different
Yeah,
release dates.
3.
Oh wow, 3
Wow.
Yeah.
dropped?
Yeah, so Cobra Kai season 6 will be the first show Netflix breaks up into 3 parts. They're trying to fill in the gaps because of the writers and actor strikes last year.
Okay.
Yeah, I because I went to Atlanta last year to visit the set, but everybody was gone, and that was already prearranged. And so I cashed in my rain check and went back earlier this year for the second time. So that's another thing. Content. I'm the only content creator that, as far as I know at this point, that has been on set twice. Some
Wow.
may have been on set maybe this final last season as a, thank you for all the hard work they have done as well. But I know some have also gone as extras this season. So looking forward to seeing some of those familiar faces pop up in the backgrounds or something. But yeah, this time around, I got to watch some filming.
Mhm.
The first time I went was right before they started filming season 3, and the first part will come out July 18th, so very shortly after this episode airs, and then the second part will come out on Thanksgiving. So the thing says, like a good old turkey will, going to like the dojo and watching karate fights,
Right.
with your loved ones. And then the third part, they have not announced a date, but says 2025. So
Wow.
my co-host Watch Party, he goes by a moniker because that's his YouTube channel. I don't know exactly what he does, but I believe the anonymity is because I believe he does work in the industry. And
Mhm.
so yeah, he is great at what he does, and he is such a sleuth and finds out like all these. He's such a detective and he's really good, but he suspects that it's going to come out like early 2025 because other people were like, oh, well, the first 2 parts is going to be 4 months. So maybe 4 months for the, 2 and 3. And so he doesn't think that's the case. It's just like, the gaps from last year's strikes is all for this year. So yep.
Man, I thought with all those release dates, this was like going to be some kind of Zack Snyder cut or something.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
they added 5 additional episodes, so we're getting 15 episodes for season 6.
Oh,
which is
wow, that's
5 more
yeah.
than the previous. Yeah,
Okay.
and they're all still half an hour each. As far as we know, roughly, and they've never cut it. So that way, like everything's 30 minutes, like episode 3 from season 1 is like 23 minutes,
Mhm.
and so we understand, and we've been told as such that each episode, like basically, it would just last as long as the story for that particular episode,
Okay.
and so season 5, a lot of them ran a little bit longer, so we suspect anything from like 30 to up to 48 minutes as in previous seasons. So just think of these 3 parts as like 3 movies. So it's going to be like Cobra Kai the movie part 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, so with that being said, we are probably going to reconvene later on this year and discuss everything. That way we can watch the final season, as it's playing out. And then, I mean, if we have to wait until 2025, who knows? But we're gonna review our favorite moments from Cobra Kai later on. But for tonight, the movies that are already in existence, the ones that we grew up watching, The Karate Kid, Karate Kid Part 2, The Karate Kid Part 3, and then the next Karate Kid, which I'm sure we have some thoughts about. But in doing so, we are going to review our top 3 favorite moments. And then before number ones, as usual, we're going to have our honorable mentions, which will probably be pretty
There'll be a
loaded.
list.
And, but that's fine. But Peter, as our guest, and with any guest that we ever have on the show, you're going to start and end this list, and from there we're going to do like I guess the snake pattern or whatever it is you call it, Chris. But
A cobra pattern, perhaps.
There you
damn,
go.
that's good.
It was right there.
Why didn't I say that
It was
first?
right there from the
Shit.
take.
This is why we brought you
why
in.
This is why we
Exactly.
brought Peter on.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Peter, go ahead and start us off with your number 3 favorite moment from any of the original movies.
Okay, and just to kind of pimp out a little bit of the stuff I do. If you guys like interviews, that's kind of the bread and butter of Kompanion. Like we do your episode breakdowns and trailer breakdowns. We really get in depth. We hang on to like every word that is said and all of that. But I have 133 interviews. I have at least one interview from each of the first 4 movies. Most of them coming from the first movie. So yeah, just throwing that out. If you guys like hearing backstories and insights from things, which I'm going to insert in some of our selections. And so number 3. Now, a lot of people grew up with Daniel kind of being their guy, right? Like that's the narrative. Like Daniel's, that's his POV. He's the lead, and a lot of people are fans of Johnny. Barney Stinson is one of them. Like I think everyone credits that for being what started Cobra Kai, but that's not true. But anyway, but there are Johnny people. You guys, I was a chosen guy. Okay, so for those that are listening at home, I'm Asian. I think that's another reason I was brought on. It needed some more color. I don't do karate. That wasn't it. But Karate Kid 2 is a movie that I often credit being like, that's the movie where I first saw people that looked like me and none of us were portrayed as stereotypes. And that's why the character Mr. Miyagi also means so much to me. So much so that I did a character study video on YouTube called The Mind of a Soldier, and just kind of deep diving what a young Miyagi might have been like. And I was very proud of that. And kind of inserted some of my own experiences as a soldier and facing some prejudice, with people wearing the same uniform as me, and not recognizing that I'm Asian American, and just trying to say like, no, you were born in America, you're just American. And so I talked about that, and like, well, and that was just me. Like, imagine Miyagi back in the 40s, going through that shit. And so Chosen is my guy, and the reason I like Chosen is because he reminds me a lot of my uncle, who I kind of I grew up sharing a room with, and he was a teenager at the time. I feel like I got a lot of my influences from my uncle, and he's so much like Chosen. He is charming. He's a bit of a ladies' man, and he's like 10 years older than me, and the guy is more fit than me. Like, this guy looks like he does like those street workouts. He'll just grab 2 chairs and start doing dips for whatever reason, but he's a mechanic. He's just a really cool dude. Everyone loves him. And so Chosen removing his shirt is my number 3 favorite moment from the show. This was an example. It's like, you guys, not only is this guy got a great smile and he has Riz, I think that's what the kids call it because they're too lazy to say charisma.
That's it.
But when Yuji Okamoto takes off that shirt and it looks like he wears like a size C bra, like it was that moment that I think, I think it made some people think, kind of look at Asians a little bit differently. And I had interviewed, was it somebody that talked about somebody involved with Real Genius. I'm forgetting, but I did interview somebody, and we discussed how that movie portrayed quote unquote nerds differently. There were Asians in there as well that were also not your '80s stereotype Asians, and but in Real Genius, you can see that nerds can also be hot. I feel Chosen was like one of those examples, like Asians can be hot too, and not be a joke, not have like bottle thick glasses, and things like this. This dude is fit, like I know Bruce Lee, like that he transcended like all types of other things, but it's a little bit kind of different what he brings to the table. But I'm sure, like I don't want to discount Bruce Lee, obviously, but like Chosen was like a new specimen, pre Rufio. I feel like a lot of people were fans and kind of Rufio was also their biases growing up.
So I guess it's a good thing that Kumiko threw that tomato right at his back.
Yeah, that's one of our most quoted lines. You keep for your collection.
Man, that's pretty pimp right there.
Yeah, you keep for your collection. There's so much you can take from that, right? Like he is so smug that it's like you probably keep some of these that I'll be just throwing around for for reasons, because it's a Chosen shirt, But yeah, Yuji Okamoto has, like I have visited with him a few times up in Seattle. He has a couple of restaurants up there, Kona Kitchen. Check it out if you're up in that area, Pacific Northwest. I was up there for his annual Halloween party, and I went dressed as Chosen from Cobra Kai, and it was the first time I've ever cosplayed. Like I made my own shirt, and he actually thought that like I ordered it. I go, no, I painted this. I just like pulled up a shirt that Chosen was wearing, and I found the print online, and I just hand drew it because I was like, I want to get a reaction out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout the night, people would come and say hello to him, some of his regulars and whatnot, and they would be like, "Oh, well, sorry if I'm interrupting." He's like, "No, not at all." And then I try to step back, and then he'll turn to me and say, like, "Oh, this is my friend Peter." I'm like, "Oh, he's introducing like me to people as his friend." So,
oh, dude,
yeah,
that's awesome.
so Yuji has now since called me a friend, and I feel like the one other actor that I can probably say friend would be Izzy Warbe, who plays Freddy Fernandez from the first movie.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
His
So I get to meet him in New York. Yeah, he's my first one. Oh, Daniel's first friend too. But yeah. So
sounds good. All right, well, Chris, I guess we should say good luck to both of us topping some of these stories. I think we should just lie and make up our own stories at this point.
Do you want me just just choose your guys' 3 and just insert whatever story?
No, yeah, and assign a story. But no, but go ahead, Chris. What's your number 3, man?
All right, my number 3. And to be clear, Peter, you are not the only Asian on the show, my friend. Okay, I according to my 23andMe, I am 48% Chinese.
There we go.
So,
okay. I knew. I mean, I believe before you've just said half, right? So you got an actual percentage.
Yep.
See, Chris splits the difference between the two of us. So we're good.
There we go. Okay, my number 3, man. I'm going with Karate Kid 1, and it's the scene of the chopsticks, man, where Daniel walks in on Miyagi trying to catch a fly with chopsticks, and he's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Just watch." And so Daniel picks up some chopsticks and says, "All right, I can do this too." And he actually catches the fly. And you can see when he catches that fly, Miyagi's all like, "You son of a And he goes, "Beginner's luck," and walks out. And man, I cannot think of another scene that like just would make me want to go grab chopsticks and try to catch flies. Like, I remember doing that as a kid after seeing this movie, and specifically that scene. and I'm just walking around the backyard trying to catch flies with chopsticks, and I would spend like an hour or two out there trying to catch flies. And my mom was like, "Fine, just stay your ass out there. You're out of my hair, so it's okay." But
catch as many flies as you want.
catch as many flies. I never did. I still have, to this day, have never caught a fly with chopsticks. But man, just that scene. One of the things why it's my number 3 is because it made me want to go do it. It made me step outside of the house and go and try to catch flies. So that is why it's my number 3. The beginner's luck scene, as we call it.
Sounds good.
It's a great scene, beginner's luck. I mean, is that not the theme of Daniel in the first movie?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, yeah,
pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
Chris, I've got one of those Vivos that you plug into the wall. We've caught plenty of flies with those, man.
But you have no honor with that,
right,
sir.
Yeah. We cheat. That's how
it's
we
chosen
do it.
here all of a sudden, like questioning people's honors.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's pretty. I love that scene.
By the way, Chosen would be on my side for Godzilla -1. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm sure that he would.
He would.
Oh my god.
We'll
have to talk about Godzilla minus. Did you see Godzilla -1, Peter?
I haven't, and when you were
gosh.
kind of shading, the people who haven't seen it yet and all this, I was like, man, I want to see it, but I don't have time.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff I am rewatching, if not for like my own coverages. Like I just kind of mentioned, I love documentaries because like you can just throw it on and just like, oh wow, I did not know that.
I'm kind of. Oh, go ahead, Chris.
We have a group chat now with all 3 of us. When you finally watch this, I need you to text this group, and we need to have a discussion about
the ending.
About,
okay. I have to like kind of give some time so that way I can kind of forget what you guys said. But also you mentioned the group chat. There's a very specific name to that. I just kind of want to shout out some of the things that we're wearing.
Oh yes,
I have a Miyagi-Do mug. Miyagi-Do karate with the bonsai tree, and I'm also wearing a Miyagi t-shirt. There we go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like Pat Morita. Yeah,
it is Pat Morita.
Yeah.
So this t-shirt, it's actually a promo shirt from More Than Miyagi director Kevin Derrick. He found me right before they released it, and basically I was able to kind of collab with them, and they sent me copies of the movie and the t-shirt to kind of help promote, and
Cool.
I would in return get an interview with Robert Mark Kamen. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it.
That sounds great.
But obviously like he saw the connections I had, and I thought it was a great opportunity, and that's kind of how I got my in with Robert Mark Kamen, writer of the Karate Kid, the first 3 movies. But the shirt I also wore to go see Ralph Macchio here in Portland last November, and this was during the strike, and so like he couldn't talk about the show or anything. But when I showed up to the Comic-Con, I had to go straight to photo ops because that's what he was doing. And then after photo ops was his they call it a spotlight. So it wasn't a panel; it's going to be a spotlight about Ralph Macchio, and so. Anybody that's been to a Comic-Con and has been at these photo ops, it's very conveyor belt like, right? You come in, hello, thank you, take a picture, boom, all right. And so I walk in, and because of my shirt and how big Pat Morita's face is on this, when I walked through the curtains, his eyes went straight to the shirt, and he looked at it. It looked like he tried to read the text, which is the title of the film, and then he looked at my face, and he did that reaction, kind of like, "Oh, of course it's you," like one of those things. And so he says, "Like, well, what are you doing down here? Like, aren't you from Seattle?" I go, "No, I drove to Seattle to go see you for his book tour, like the previous year, or maybe 2 years prior. Actually, I think it was the previous year, but." But yeah, and I was like, "No, I'm from Portland," and then we chopped it up over at his table a little bit later. So yeah. Yeah, that's the name of our chat.
I was gonna say that you guys have got your guys. Well, Daniel LaRusso's my guy because LaRusso sounds Mexican. I know it's not Italian. I know it's Italian, but when I was a little kid, I was like, "Oh, ends in O. He's one of us." They're like, "No, he's Italian." I'm like, "Oh, well,
there's no
close
space
enough
in between the L.A. and Russo, so it's
right.
not,
it's like close
Miguel
enough.
looks like young Daniel, right?
Yeah,
I mean, because young Daniel has like that olive skin, like Johnny Cade from Outsiders. It's
right.
just So it's adjacent.
I'll take it. Well, going into my number 3, this is actually from the Karate Kid Part 3. I know that a lot of people weren't too receptive of this movie, but I love the Karate Kid Part 3 because to speak on that for a quick second, that's the first and only one that I saw in the theaters. Because I think I was like 5 years old, 6 years old, and I remembered seeing that poster of Daniel and Mr. Miyagi on the mountain, that orange kind of silhouette with them practicing the kata at the bottom, and
Right.
that poster always stuck out in my mind. And that's the one and only Karate Kid movie from the original trilogy that I saw in the movie theaters, because the previous ones I was too young, and so that one kind of holds a special place in my heart. But my favorite scene from that movie, which I have quite a few, but the one that I really liked is when Mr. Miyagi pretty much single-handedly defeats the 3 remaining members of the Cobra Kai. He starts with Mike Barnes, throws him through the door, then he goes after and fights Kreese. Kreese is like, "We're old friends," all cocky, and then he just proceeds to beat the shit out of him. And then Terry Silver, who is arguably one of the best villains in the entire Miyagi verse. I love Terry Silver. I think he's hilarious, the stuff that he does. I mean, but he is a really, really bad dude. And then, it culminates in that fight. And I loved that scene because it really, and Miyagi's fought before, but there was just something about this where he's fighting his almost like his peers, I guess, and people that are master level, you know, martial artists. Because before he's fighting like the younger kids and Chosen's goons in part 2 and stuff like that. But these are guys that are at black belt level, and he still like just dominates them, just further proving his ability and what he does. And then it ends with Daniel still pleading, "Will you train me?" And he's like, Miyagi trains you." And I just absolutely love that scene, and it's my number 3. So, I
Little
guess.
tidbit
Oh,
about the
yes.
whoa, whoa, that Terry Silver does to him.
Right, right.
So Miyagi does that back to Terry Silver
Sure.
after he defeats them. That was ad-libbed by Pat Morita.
Of course it was. That
So
doesn't surprise me because Pat Morita, he was never known for martial arts or he was a comic. He was a
yeah,
comedian and, did like Happy Days and just all of his stand-up that he did. And so that was kind of interesting because whenever he got casted as Mr. Miyagi, what was the martial artist that was originally supposed to play the part, but
oh,
he couldn't.
I don't even know if he was a martial artist. It was Mifune from Seven Samurai.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right. But apparently I don't know, he was like hurting extras.
He was old.
And
He was
yeah.
He was well. I don't remember hearing that, but
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was thinking of Miyagi's stunt double. It was his stunt double. But
Fumio Demura, who
right. And I just posted
that's
something about real problems about that, which was interesting. But but Mr. Miyagi, Pat Morita getting it. And I guess a lot of people were like, "Oh, that's Arnold from Happy Days?
Yeah,
That's weird."
exactly.
So, but then he goes in there and absolutely destroys it. So, to keep the show going, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do my number 2 favorite scene, and then we'll swing it back up to you, Chris. But my number 2 favorite scene is actually from the Karate Kid Part 2. And again, many scenes from this show or from this movie, but the one that I just always love, I watch it all the time on YouTube. I'll just fire it up because I just love the scene where Daniel is at the bar with Kumiko and Chosen is there, and he puts Daniel in a situation where he's trying to basically steal money from him because he knows he can't break these sheets of ice, and puts Daniel in the situation where he has to break the ice. And then here comes Mr. Miyagi thinking, "Oh, great, I'm going to get out of this situation now." And Miyagi's like, "No, you're going to go break those ice." And he's like, What are you talking about? I can't do that."
So funny.
He's like, "Guy twice my size, he only broke through 3 of them. What do you expect me to do?" And he's like, "What are you going to do?" And he's like, "Pray," and then
Yeah.
he does his new, the new stance and the new breathing technique that Miyagi was showing him earlier in the movie. And then proceeds to bust through that ice. And I love that scene. And I remember the old Karate Kid video game having a level where you can break the ice, kind of like the other parts. But I always love that scene. It just looks so cool. And I don't know, anytime Daniel or Mr. Miyagi does something that's almost like not necessarily supernatural, but there's almost like a majestic quality to this, part of the spirit of the martial arts. Like there is always this kind of ingrained, kind of not magic. I don't know the kind of word that I'm looking for, but
It's
it's
the
like
Dinmok, right? Like that's Miyagi's
That's
Dinmok.
what I said.
right.
I
Yeah.
was about to say it's the Dimmock.
You
just
break the brick at the bottom from the top, and it's just like what's that?
let's see.
You got
This
the
is
6 slabs of ice. Yeah,
yeah. So this is
exactly.
from Cobra
Oh, is that a
Kai. For
prop?
those that yeah. So this it was a prop. I actually interviewed the prop master of season 2, who gave me a bunch of pictures, including the ice, which is not real ice, and they just added water to the bottom to make it look like it was melting.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
So a little movie
I'm
magic
gonna
there.
need to find that and pay him how much ever he wants for it because
And
that is my
also,
second favorite scene.
is this she?
Oh,
And
I'm sorry. See,
yeah, but also I need to correct you. I don't believe Chosen put him in that situation. It was Daniel's mouth putting him in
well,
his own in their own
100%.
yes,
position.
see, that's
Yes.
where that's something interesting too, because it's like people are always thinking initially thinking Daniel is kind of the
This
bullied
innocent
party,
boy. Yes.
when in fact he does start half the shit himself.
If he just be careful, just be careful
Well,
what you
that's
say
right,
in front
because
of
he
food.
tells Kumiko, it's like, it's
Yeah.
not about your muscles, it's about what's
Yep.
up here. And it doesn't make a difference. And then the guy that tells him, "Oh, you think you could do better, Big Mouth?" That's
Yep.
Trevette from Walker, Texas Ranger,
Uh-huh.
which is so crazy. Oh, and also from Die Hard, the
Iron Eagle.
Iron Eagle,
I
Top Gun. Man, that Clarence Gilliard Jr. was in a lot of stuff when you break down
was he
his
an Iron
career.
Eagle? Because I thought I
It
knew
was
it
Top
was
Gun.
one of those.
Yeah,
Okay,
it was Top
Gun.
Gun.
Right.
Yeah, he was the guy that Maverick had to partner up with after Goose died. Spoilers if you've never seen Top Gun. But anyway,
Who's what?
Goose dies? What?
oh shit, I'm sorry, Chris.
Okay.
On that note,
All
you're
right,
number
I'm outta
2,
here.
Chris, please.
Oh, and I also want to add to your scene though is
Oh, yeah.
in the middle of that, when you were saying, "Hey, Miyagi says, hey, you're gonna break this, and I'm about to
Mhm.
bet a shitload of money on it." He
Mhm.
doesn't only break 3. He says, "Oh, we're not just gonna break 3. We're gonna break 6,
Yeah,
homie. So I'm gonna add it to you, and
right.
you gonna you." And he does it. I mean, which is really cool. So, all right. So my number 2. I'm sticking in the second movie, like you are, and mine is kind of a twofer.
Mhm.
There's 2 scenes, but the 2 scenes involve one prop that is so iconic to this movie to me, and it's the hand drum. And the first scene that you see this hand drum, it kind of glosses over really quick, and I want to say it there's a lot more depth to that scene, even though it's really really quick, because Mr. Miyagi gives Daniel the hand drum and said, "This is the basis of my family's karate." And then they just go on and they do other things, and I'm like, dude, you in that particular scene, I'm like, and you already, I know you love Daniel like he's a son, this and that, but like to entrust him with this token of your family's karate where it's the basis, and here, just give it to him and he's gonna put it in his back pocket. I'm like, no, dude, you need a case and some other shit to protect this thing.
Right.
It's pretty. Just don't just put it in your back pocket, bro. So that, and then of course at the end of 2, when it's the turning of the tide, is when everybody starts using the hand drum, and that
Mhm.
summons the inner warrior within Daniel after getting his ass smashed pretty good.
Yeah.
And it helps him defeat Chosen. Sorry, Peter. But
No, it's all right. Do you think Sato put out like a memo, like, "Hey, bring your hand drums tonight, everybody"?
Oh yeah,
just
100%.
just in
How
case. Like,
convenient was
everybody,
that?
Yeah.
too? I'm
everybody
like,
got
what
a
the hell did they come?
fax.
I question that all the time, but I love that sequence as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it is definitely a great moment. But no, like Chosen had to lose to see what we get, in Cobra Kai. And
Yeah.
if Chris, if you're done speaking,
Yeah.
it goes back to me from my number 2, which was originally something related to Chosen, but from Cobra Kai. But then we made the change, so that was actually kind of perfectly. So my number 2 right now, I have it written as Miyagi Bottle Cap Challenge. He created it, you guys. You know, he's the one that first chopped the bottle. You know, but he got bottled, not just a cap, though. That's the thing. So the reason I have this at number 2, it's a few different things. Like, this is one of the overt examples of Miyagi facing racism. You know, like Daniel and him are coming back from the beach, training. These 2 randos got beer bottles like sitting on his truck, and he just asks them politely to remove these. And you know, the dark man, you know, kind of does like these 2 things. For those that don't know, it's the I'm
Larry
forgetting the
Drake.
actor's name.
Larry
Yeah,
Drake.
yeah. So he's there. Yeah, the Dark Man. So
Well,
he
I
kind of
guess
does
he's
this.
Durant from
Right.
Darkman. Yeah.
Right. There you
Like
go.
Dr. Giggles.
Yeah. And so yeah, he does this thing where he kind of squints his eyes and like reveals his 2 front teeth a little bit, you know, kind of like the Mickey Rourke character a little bit. And then Miyagi
Yeah.
just like, you know, just without really thinking about it, just karate chops like they're at the top of their bottles, and they're like, oh, yeah, my bad. Here, let me get this off for you. You want me to start your car? You know, kind of that thing. And I think that moment, you know, you go back and you look at that, you're like, you know, Mr. Miyagi always taught that there's no such thing as bad student, only bad teacher. And so like he right then and there, this is an example of him being a good teacher. Like Mr. Miyagi could have kicked their asses, you know, and so but anytime he faced like racism, this is kind of how he handled it, you know, a little without violence, right? Like even jumping to the next Karate Kid, where kind of a similar scene but at a gas station, you know, for those that kind of remember that. So Miyagi's faced it all, and he's always kind of handled it the right way. Like he never provoked and didn't strike first, right? That's not his credence. So, but yeah, so I just thought it's one of those things, because even Daniel's like, you know, like you could. Was it that moment? No, it's actually in part 2 after like his confrontation with Kreese, where he's like, "You could have killed him, couldn't you?" Like, geez, Daniel, calm down. Don't get so excited.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that's what, you know, is running through Daniel's head. Like, well, how'd you do that? You know, whatever. You know,
He's like, don't know. First time.
yeah. But yeah, I just thought, yeah, again, just being a great example. You know, not just to Daniel, but to anybody that's watching. Like, there's no need to strike first.
Okay, so before we go into our number 1s, and Chris, do you have any more about your drums?
We're good.
Okay. So we are going to do some honorable mentions, some of our favorite scenes, and as a quick recap of them. But so I mean, Chris, do you have any particular scenes that you like that didn't make our list, but you still love in the movie?
Yes, I do, but y'all go ahead. I need to
Okay.
look back and make sure I don't spoil anybody's number 1.
Oh yeah. Just check the notes there. They're all right there.
Yeah.
So, well, Peter, I guess, man, hey, this is your time to shine. As quick as you can, you know.
Yeah. So, so many moments. There's a sequence in the first All Valley we see in the first film, where like it's like the montage of you're the best, right? And
Joe Esposito, baby.
Yeah, Dutch is kind of like doing this thing where he's like shaking, like he's like warming up or something. That's a sequence I always kind of remember. Also, like Dutch calling him Danielle, you know, like prior to like all of the fights. Like, hey, it's our friend Danielle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the soccer field sequence. You know, Ali with an I, Daniel with the L, but the Cobra's taking him down. I love that. Karate Kid 3, Terry Silver in a towel. You know, Terry Silver putting Daniel in a Cobra Kai gi. What? You know, also Terry Silver putting a wedge in between Daniel and Mr. Miyagi, and we're seeing Miyagi at his saddest moment, and that's actually what kind of turned me on and turned me against Daniel. Was in that third movie, and obviously it was kind of written that way.
Yeah.
So I thought that was great. In part 2, Miyagi rescuing Sato, you know, breaking that beam. You know,
love that part. Yes.
If anybody's seen the teaser for the upcoming 6, we see a second person that breaks one, you know, so I'll have to compare sizes, you know, between Chosen and Miyagi's beam.
That particular scene, I love that scene too, because it's Sato's redemption too, and you know, he's like, Daniel sticks around to help the little girl off the warning bell, and all the electrical wirings around, and he grabs her, and then they fall to the ground, and then of course Mr. Miyagi's first impulse is to run out and help him, but then Sato's like, Miyagi, you let me go, and I just love that. And then the music.
So good.
There's a point in that scene where the music, Bill Conti, I mean, we should give this dude a shout out for the entire score. of these movies, like the Karate
And
Kid
part 4, yep.
and part 4. It's just like his music is so good. And not only did John G. Alvison, from Rocky, but he brought over Bill Conti too. So it's just like this music is so good. But in that particular scene, it rises and I don't know, it's absolutely just beautiful, that scene. And he's like, well, no, to you I am dead. And I'm like, well, I don't think that's the best approach to take with Chosen, who's borderline sociopathic here, but okay, and but yeah, I absolutely love that. The scene in part 2, now that I'm thinking about it, was the tea ceremony.
Yeah.
I have always thought that was one of the most beautiful artistic scenes in any movie, especially as a kid. You're so enthralled with the procedure of it. And I watched I was watching Mozart in the Jungle with the Gael Garcia Bernal show on Amazon Prime. I was finally finishing it up, and there's a scene where they're in Japan. They're in Tokyo performing, with the orchestra, and they go to a tea ceremony in that, and the tea is laced. So they have like this crazy trippy episode, which is it gets kind of funny too, but the procedure at which she's laying out the tea is very similar to what Kumiko does. And I was like, oh yeah, this is nice and all, but this has got nothing on Kumiko's, ceremony. Just, the way she uses her finger. And I know that it all means something too, like the expression of the physical motion, signifies some certain, I don't know. I'd have to get more into that detail, but I've always loved that scene. That's such a good scene.
Did you guys see Awesome Asian Bad Guys?
Which one?
Awesome Asian Bad Guys.
Is that a doc?
It's a movie. It's on. You can watch the whole thing on YouTube. But like these, I think they were like film students. They're both Asian. I think one's at least Filipino, and they got like Yuji and Tamlin and Dante Basco, Ao Lung. They got like all these guys, right? That are very familiar. Randall Park was a random. He's in there, but I think it's part of the movie, or at least like some promotional thing they did. They have a skit with Yuji where it's like learn how to be like chosen or something like that, where he says it's to see where like how you rip off your shirt. So he shows them how to do it. They're kind of dorks, and like one's a little bit wiry, and so they keep breaking, from character, because they're trying to hold a straight face. But what I'm getting at is one of them did the tea scene with Tamlin like that. And even he leads for a kiss at one point, and I think she slaps him. But it's so funny.
That is funny.
So I'll drop a link for you guys. But Awesome Asian Bad Guys.
That's awesome. Yeah. So yeah, Chris, did you get any?
Yes. So the scene where Daniel is going on the date with Allie, and they have to push the car. Oh man, I feel that in my
embarrassment, right?
I feel that in my soul, man.
Yeah.
I feel like I lived that at some point in my life as well, and it's just like, And then the actual date, man, the place they go is freaking awesome, and
yeah, like, it is cool.
I
golf and stuff. Like that's the only name they give it is like golf and stuff, but there's not like any particular name.
Yeah, and after seeing that, I'm like, man, I want a place like that here where we live. It's pretty nice. Just those
I've
two.
been there.
The real place?
I went to the real golf and stuff in a DeLorean.
Oh shit!
Back in 2022, it was the day after Paley Fest.
In this damn show, he's making us look so bad right now.
Shit, Chris, start lying now. We still have time.
Everybody was like, of course Peter did. Like he went to golf and stuff in a DeLorean. So Paley Fest was on, I believe it was a Saturday, and one of my listeners who had become my friend, he decided that he would fly down there to attend Paley Fest, and if I was going, then we could hang out. And he too is a Back to the Future fan, and so like after we made some planning and whatever, like he randomly texted me. He's like, "Hey, have you ever driven a DeLorean?" I go, "I've been in like 5 of them, but no, not. Are you thinking about renting one?" And he's like, "Kind of am." I go, "I will half it with you. I don't care how much it costs.
Yeah,
I will half it with you because
money."
Yeah, adult money.
Hashtag adult money, you guys. If you can take anything from this, don't even listen to the podcast. Just start saving your money, you guys.
Right.
So when my wife and I, when we, when after like at some point after like I asked, to marry me, that kind of thing, I was just like, I just casually threw it out. I would love to drive off in a DeLorean like on our wedding day, and she never said no, but we ended up having a destination wedding, and that's already like costly. So I was like, well, I guess DeLorean's out of the question. So when my buddy Mikey G, shout out to Mikey, when he posed the question, I go, let's do it. And so, yeah, we rented a DeLorean for the whole day. We went to a lot of the Karate Kid locations, including Seaside. Damn it. John Hurwitz just posted a picture of him and Billy and the other two creators in front of the building. It's where Daniel lived. In the first movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so we went there, and there was no anywhere to park. And so I parked over in front of the fire hydrant. And Mikey's like, don't you think that what if I go, who is going to tow a DeLorean? And he said, that's fair. So we circled around. We couldn't get in, and you have to have, like, I think, a key code or whatever it was. I saw like a teenager working on his car. I was like, dude, so like this is going to sound really weird, but we rented a DeLorean. You know the Back to the Future movies. Yeah, that's like one of my dad's favorite movies. We rented one. Go tell your dad. I will let you take a picture in front of the DeLorean if you could let us into the apartments. And so we went inside the Daniel's apartments and took pictures there. We
cool.
went to where like Johnny, like this view over in LA where Johnny is in the first episode of Cobra Kai. So we went to a lot of the locations, including Back to the Future locations. We went to the street where there's like the Baines' residence. We parked by the tree where George climbed, and so we were parking. So we took pictures of us in the DeLorean looking up at the tree, as if like George is still there. And then the Tannins' house. We went to the mall. Right, so we went to the mall in the DeLorean and drove what we thought the path was that Marty drove, and took a lot of like random pictures and videos out in the mall. So yeah, drove it. We had it for like 12 hours.
That's awesome.
That kind of reminds me of the time, I guess I forgot to tell you fellas, when I went to Mr. Miyagi's house in a Batmobile. Great time.
I think you mentioned that.
That was me.
Oh, you're that guy.
Well, I guess another moment I really liked, and it had a visceral reaction from my kids when we rewatched it, when is the mac and cheese scene in Karate Kid Part 3, where Daniel is
with what I like.
With Blake Lively's sister, Robin Lively, and what's her? Oh, Jessica. Jessica's her name in the movie.
Jessica
and then
Andrews, yeah.
Whenever Karate's bad boy Mike Barnes, who I love as a villain. I know you guys probably don't particularly care for him. I love him as a villain, but him and his goons, your buddy Dennis, is in there,
yes.
and they go in to pretty much, kind of punk out Daniel and make him sign the contract to compete for the All Valley tournament. Well, Daniel dispatches of Dennis pretty quickly, and
that's cool.
And then,
yep.
So Dennis, after he gets beaten up, then Jessica throws the mac and cheese on the other buddy, and then what does Mike Barnes do? He's not going to do anything. She's a girl. Straight up gut kicks her.
Yeah,
she like falls down. My kids were like, oh, like just shocked. They're like, oh my god, he just straight up kicked her in the gut. I mean, this is a karate champion too, and then of course he goes on to beat the crap out of Daniel, as one does. But
yeah.
I don't know. So if y'all have any more moments or any other honorable mentions?
Oh, sure. I mean, I got moments I could share for sure. So I'm showing the guys me in the DeLorean, and you could tell that that's golf and stuff back there. And when we parked,
that's what it was. I was like, damn, we should have saved this for the Back to the Future episode next year. For the 40th.
The funny thing is, we parked so far from everyone, and then when we came back out, everyone parked around us and was like taking pictures of the car.
Oh, that's hilarious.
We felt like celebrities. People were rubbernecking all day. We had people on the freeways like giving us thumbs up out of the window. They're like, hey. It was a lot of fun.
The golf and stuff that you went to, is that the same one inside too? Is it the same shooting?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's with the one from the movie
cool.
in Cobra Kai. That's a place in Atlanta because they film in Atlanta. And then when Sam and Miguel went on their date, they actually reused the exterior from the movie in the show.
I got you.
And so yeah. But you mentioned Dennis. Dennis had no lines, and when that scene was filmed, Ralph is supposed to like fight Dennis, and so Ralph felt that like he doesn't strike first, right? Like he needs
He's
Dennis to
defensive.
say something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they wrote in a line and told Dennis to say, why don't you just say like you take off, or whatever the line was, right? And that got Sensei William his tag card just for that. And so
Nice.
he's been forever grateful to Ralph Macchio because of it. And I think one last thing I was going to show you. Actually, two more pictures if I could, please. This is me. I don't think you guys can tell what that location is, but I am standing over by the steps of where Mr. Miyagi's little trees would be. So they
Oh, the
tore down the
building that
building,
they
but
had.
that's the lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm
Oh,
standing behind the
nice.
lot there, and across the street where the pottery place is actually now a tattoo shop. And then I won't even say where. Oh, so here's that location I was just telling you about from the first Cobra Kai. Do you remember that scene where Johnny's on the phone with a guy named Mike? He's like, "You fired me because of that
Oh, right
bee?"
in the first episode. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
That's where we went. So I had been to this location, but Mikey hadn't. So we had to go because we're in the DeLorean.
Of
Can you?
course. I like how
This
you
McFly house.
brought the the crossover of Back to the Future and Karate Kid, the one that no one ever expected, but should happen.
Yeah.
I think Daniel LaRusso should get in the time machine.
I think so. And then one last picture I'll share because it's definitely one worth sharing, and I have a fun story with that. Here we go. Okay, so where am I?
It's kind of hard to. Is that?
It is kind of hard to see. Let me see.
Is that his house?
This is Terry Silver's mansion.
Oh, okay.
In the third movie. This is the outside. So, here, maybe if you saw this part. Guys, so the reflection is crazy.
That's the house where he has that tub that looks like a little pot. Like it's a deep circle, and it's like the smallest bathtub ever, but he's like chest deep in that thing.
I like that phone he had in there too. It's like an old classic phone.
Yeah.
So
and Margaret has a seat. Secretary. That's what.
So we parked real quick because there was nowhere to park in front of that house, and we parked over by a gate. And we both jumped out real quick. Again, flashers on. Nobody's going to tow or ticket a DeLorean. Mm-hmm. And so we both take turns like jumping out to take a picture in front of the Ennis house. And at one point we heard like rattling of the gate. And so we both kind of freeze. We're like, what do we do? And so this guy walks out. He's got like two like regular sized dogs, nothing big on, and I was like, oh, he's going for a little walk. And then I'm in mid like, hey, Ken, like, is it all right if, like, I'm kind of doing that, but he starts walking in the other direction. And so we both look at each other like, well, he's walking away, so it's probably okay, right? Like, yeah. So we're posing for another picture. He stops, he turns around, takes out his phone. So we're like, uh-oh. And then he takes a picture of the DeLorean. It just keeps on going. We're like, ha, cool. Nice. But that's it. Yeah. So, yep. If you're going to go to these shooting locations, you got to go in style. I think,
you got to go in a DeLorean so nobody... Nobody
tows your shit.
Tows you or calls the cops on you. Perfect.
Did I ever tell you guys about the time I flew to Okinawa in Maverick's fighter jet?
Well, you did tell me that one time you went to Reseda in like an Ecto 1, right? Like...
Right, exactly. So you did see that.
Yeah.
It's on his TikTok.
Ecto 1 too.
So I guess we're going to go ahead and start off with our number ones. I'll go first, and then Peter, of course, will end with you as our guest. Okay. And I'm going to, like I said, I'll be the basic bitch on this one. I don't care. My favorite scene is the crane kick finale in the final fight against Johnny Lawrence in Karate Kid Part 1. He's training the crane kick. There's another great crescendo of music as Daniel's finally learning the art of the crane kick on the stump on the beach. It's beautiful. The image was used for the poster. And it's such an iconic shot. I mean, that becomes the emblem, like the silhouette of him, his Air Jordan, if you will, and with him on the, practicing the crane kick. And then when it comes to fruition at the end, it's just great. And he competes, he wins with it. And that helps him win the championship. Granted, it doesn't work in any other movie or any other instance, but it's just one of the most iconic scenes in the movie and even in pop culture history. Anytime you see like a somebody doing a recap of Karate Kid, or if you see a preview or somebody's making some kind of note about it, you always see the crane kick. and it's even used in Cobra Kai and stuff like that. Well, I mean, I guess they reshot some stuff too, but you know, and they used old footage again. But the
Yep.
crane kick is my number one. So
It Yeah, Steven, you mentioned like Bill Conti earlier, that
mhm.
the swelling of the music and the, syncing up the kick with the symbol, it's just it's perfect. It's cinematic perfection. And fun fact, are you guys familiar with the name Daryl Vidal or Daryl Vidal, depending who
The
says
martial
it?
artist, that the one that's in the movie too, that fights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So he's the one that came up with the crane kick. I also
Oh,
interviewed him,
Oh,
and so he
nice.
gets a name drop in season 2, where Johnny is talking to, I think, Tommy in the hospital. He says Vidal, and so when I interviewed Daryl, I asked him, like, how do you say your last name? He says Vidal, and
mhm.
then I asked him to record an intro, and then he says Vidal, and so I'm just like, wait, you just told me Vidal. So
That's
anyway,
funny.
yeah, so yeah, he's the Filipino martial artist that does this incredible like kick move. Like, if you guys seen the movie, you guys know who we're talking about. But yeah, he's the one that came up with the crane kick, and that is him on the stump on the beach doing that as Mr. Miyagi. So they put him in a fat suit.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
that's
funny.
cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that. But you know, the funny thing about the crane kick too is that the one time that it was actually used in practicum is when Lyoto the Dragon Machida was fighting in the UFC
Yep.
against Randy Couture. He literally knocks Randy Couture out with a crane kick, and they even make comment on that. They're like, he just karate kid him. That's the crane kick. He hit him with the crane technique. And so I just think that's kind of funny how it actually happened, and kind of puts a lot of validity on it, whether or not he thought it
Yeah.
would work or not. But yeah, so I guess Chris, your number one moment, sir, please.
All right, my number one moment is a little bit deeper. I know, the crane kick, obviously, uh, iconic, scene. But I'm gonna go with more of a deep cut, I guess you would say. When in Karate Kid 1, when Mr. Miyagi gets drunk and
Mm.
he is in his military uniform, and this is where he reveals to Daniel that he was married, and he had a son on the way, and um, that it's revealed that, I mean, I mean, obviously he's in trauma still. I mean, there's a lot of things going on with Miyagi that we never know about. I mean, he's just an amazing teacher and great mentor towards Daniel, but he has passed, and this brings up some of it. And his wife and son passed during birthing complications while he was away at war. And it just brings so much more depth to that character for me. And kind of like Peter, um you
I
don't
bring so much.
you,
Oh.
you bring so much to this show,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
But seeing Asians on screen when we're little, we're not just the bottle cap
Right.
kids. This guy was at war. He fought for country. He has this depth of where he super sad. Like, he lost his wife and his son, and it's not until you rewatch this as an adult that this hits a little bit more, and then it hits a lot more when you have your own kids as
Mm.
well. And rewatching this scene, I'm just like, man, this hits, and the tears start rolling. I ain't even lying. These
Mm-hmm.
tears start rolling when I watch this scene now, and it's just so moving, and just it's just amazing that little scene. And it's not a huge scene. It's maybe like a 5-6 minute scene, not very long at all, but how it speaks to his character and that depth, just amazing. That is why it's my number one.
It's a
Oh,
no,
go
no, no,
ahead,
no,
Peter. No, no, no.
sorry.
Go ahead.
You're the host.
No, I'm just saying, like, and I'm sure if I'm wrong, please correct me. But the producers of the movie didn't want that scene in the movie.
Yeah, they
They
felt
didn't.
it slowed down. Yeah.
Yeah, and they wanted Miyagi to be more, like you said, is not necessarily as dark, but that emotional. They liked him being a little bit
Mm-hmm.
lighter and somewhat comical. So for that, they were like, no, this is too deep. Like, this is too much. But John Alvinson fought for it. He kept it in there. And a lot of people say, including the director and including Pat Morita, say that is what got him his Oscar nomination, was that scene.
100%.
And it's so just devastating. And I actually like the reveal of it too, because you're watching this from Daniel's perspective. How you're wondering, like, damn, why is he's loaded, but you just don't know exactly why, but you know that he's drunk and he's hurting right now. And then whenever he sees the telegram that Miyagi received, that's how he found out that his wife and child died. I mean, she died during childbirth. And that, I mean, through a telegram, like, how devastating. Like, it just adds to the emotional complexity of that. And yeah, that's an amazing scene. And I don't think that there's any bit of acting better than that particular scene. Not to say that there wasn't great acting in the rest of it or anything, but it's just he hit such a high note in terms of his acting ability with that. And I also feel like Pat Morita was really trying to prove, like, look, I'm just more than a comic actor here, and I'm about to show you. And damn, he absolutely does. That's a great number one scene, Chris.
And the fact that too that they also reveal, like, not only was he a soldier, he was a war hero.
Yeah.
And I know, Peter, you know more about this, and I'll let you speak on it. But when Daniel picks up those medals, like war hero medals, and I think you did the research on what those medals were for, but it's not. I mean, dude, he's a true badass, and it's so amazing. But I'll go ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah, no, so good. Like Chris, and also like a deep cut. I think maybe we have different definitions. Like I feel I don't know because I feel everybody knows about that sequence, because we find out so much about Miyagi and like he's wearing the uniform and it's just like, oh, what are we celebrating? It's like, oh, my anniversary, and then he doesn't go in depth, but he's dropping little nuggets like, wife and here they're looking at the picture of Kyoko. So she's not named in the movie, and I told you guys this before we started recording, but my second interview with Robert Mark Kamen, he reveals that in the Karate Kid the musical, which he wrote the book for, he names her Kyoko after his late mother-in-law. And what he shares about the musical is really beautiful, and if that's something you're interested in, go check that one out. But also, yes, the Medal of Honor, the 442nd, also that doesn't really get talked about, but you see, like it being mentioned like in the movie, and this is like the most decorated regiment and unit in history, and I'm forgetting like all the details, but again, I kind of go through that in my video. I basically I've been trying to like get more clicks, and so like now I'm kind of calling it like a Miyagi prequel pitch, kind of thing, or but it's still a mind of a soldier, because it's all those ribbons. We looked it up, like because some of them also say like a specific region he was in during combat, and so and this one other is also awarded to him because of close combat, possibly with like hand to hand, and he was an infantryman, I believe, and so there's like all these different things that tell so much of a story. We don't have that, and so like a lot of us in the fandom, we want like a young Miyagi show, and we want to see that badassery, because Cobra Kai tells us that there's an aggressive side to Miyagi-Do as well. And what the movie taught us was that it's just defense. So my video, to go back to that again, why did Mr. Miyagi teach Daniel only defense? There was something else. Why was there no other pupil? Was there another person that got hurt badly or died indirectly because he was mentored by Miyagi at some point, and maybe he vowed to himself he will never teach again, until Daniel comes, and that leads me into my number one.
Yeah, perfect.
Daniel gets his ass kicked by the Cobras is my number one. That was unintentional. It just worked perfectly, you guys. It's kismet. But it's such like John G. Alvinson loves to show us everything, right? Like you guys think about the tournament scene, and he's showing us the entire arena, and everything's just so well staged. Like everything's beautiful. Like the outdoor training stuff with Miyagi. You know, like when they're like on the field and Miyagi's wearing like the catcher stuff. You know, like it's just everything's so grand and in scale and just so beautiful. And so when Daniel is like being chased by these cobras in the field, these cobras who are just like skeletons are literally like, you know, kind of like what do snakes do in the grass? I'm kind of blanking here. It's
Slither.
They slither. That's the title of one of the songs. You know, the score from Zach and Leo, the composers, Cobra Kai. But anyway, they're slithering through the grass, like chasing after Daniel. And like, if you watch it on a big screen, it's just like it's scary. Like these guys are chasing after him. Daniel gets cornered, and they all beat the shit out of him. And you know, maybe this is some real problems, but Zapka, I think the timing was wrong or something, and actually hurt Ralph,
Mm-hmm.
you know, pretty badly in that sequence. And then you know, but you know, this mysterious figure jumps over the fence and then takes down the other guys and all that stuff. And then Daniel's like, "Oh, who was that Spider-Man?" You know, and all that. So it's just that is what leads him into training Daniel. You know, is to see Daniel like that. And so like, again, I'm just thinking like, did this happen to somebody else before? And you know, that's why now Miyagi decides to teach Daniel. So it's just one of the best scenes ever. And if you're like a Cobra fan, then you love that scene too.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. I didn't mean to kind of step on that earlier. You made a note of the Cobras kicking Daniel's ass, and I thought, oh well, that could be any one of those scenes because it happens multiple times.
That's
and
true.
You know, the first one, the beach scene too, is like something that's pretty recognized as people picking it apart. Like, did Daniel sucker punch him? Did he start some shit? I mean, I don't think
it was Freddie
so.
Fernandez. His
Yeah,
fault.
you know,
Freddie
Freddie
invited him.
sucks, man. That guy
Freddie
sucks.
invited Daniel, knowing the fucking Cobras were going to be there, or he invited Daniel and then invited the Cobras.
Well,
It was
okay.
it was
So
Freddie's fault.
if Daniel doesn't involve himself with any kind of engagement to Allie, do you think the Cobras are messing with him? I don't think so. I think they targeted him because he's talking to Johnny's girl, basically.
That's it. You know, like the I think the dialogue, you know, between the Cobras is like, well, did they break up? Like, well, you know, she did, he didn't.
He
you know?
didn't. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And you know, Chris is a male dominating specimen like that too. So I guess he would relate to a scene like that, right, Chris?
Oh, 100%.
See, he would have whooped Daniel's ass too. You know, I think it's funny.
Girl.
The poor
girl, ex-girl, whatever. You don't do that.
But he didn't know. He's new, Chris. See, Freddie, this is where Freddie's at fault. He should have told him to stay away from her. He was like, hey, man, that's like the baddest karate dudes, you know, in the valley's girl right there. Like, don't mess with her. Don't talk to her. You're going to have to face some consequences.
See, but then that's why I think Steven is more like Daniel, because he would see that as a challenge and do it anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The challenge to get the
Strike
girl
first.
or challenge to get the guy? I don't know.
Both.
See, like,
Possibly.
have you guys seen the YouTube video? Like, it's something called like Freddie Fernandez, the Master Manipulator.
No, I've got to see it though.
Well, I'm taking some of the points that this person makes, but it's like, you know, when Freddie, how does Freddie meet Daniel?
He gets kicked in the face.
And what does he ask Daniel? What is that, karate?
It's his revenge for getting kicked in the face.
Oh.
Well, I mean, it could be that, but it's also like, well, this guy does karate. I know
he wanted to see
that
a
does
matchup.
karate. He instigating.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, and then they're on the beach and you know, they're playing soccer. And then you see at one moment, Freddie's like, hey, you see that girl over there? Right? Doesn't he like,
does instigate that.
Check out those group of girls.
I mean, granted, Elizabeth Shue is the prettiest one out there. She's kind of standing out, but he probably wasn't immediately noticing it until he did say something. You know what really pisses me off too is the final scene after Daniel wins. Look at these punks, man. They're surrounding him, patting him on the back. There's your boy Freddie, like basically shining off his trophy for him. And it's like,
he shared a story with me as to like, I think he showed up late to that day, but there is a sequence that he was cut out of.
I just assumed he was there because all of those guys from that earlier scene, all of his like Freddie's friends are there congratulating Daniel. I was like, look at these punks. Where the hell were they this whole time? Bunch of chumps.
I think you were supposed to see more of Freddy, but I think he showed up late to filming that day, if I
Oh my
remember
God,
correctly.
how terrible! Like, why
Yeah.
are you late, man? Like, you must have had a car breakdown. Did he say
It was
anything
the
about that?
80s.
Oh,
I think so. I mean, he was like one of my early interviews. You
okay,
know, like it was after Cobra Kai came out, and I started getting like actors from the movies. That's when it was like starting really getting wild. 'Cause, like, I literally grew up watching you guys. You
yeah.
know,
Any
so
mentions of the animated series? Did either of you guys watch the cartoon series?
It's on
I
Tubi.
It is on
I think
Tubi. You're right,
all
Chris.
of it, all of it, all of
Yes,
it, all of it.
all of it.
Okay,
Interesting.
I've seen very little of it.
I saw a couple when I was a little kid when it first came out, but I don't remember anything about it. I know I liked it. I mean, it was our target. We were the target demo
Yeah.
for that. You know, I just don't. I mean, I'm gonna go fire some up on Tubi. I'm glad you mentioned that it was on Tubi.
Because I'm trying to find anywhere to stream these 3 beautiful movies. Unless you have Stars, you cannot for free. So I was like, oh, Tubi has everything. Let me check Tubi. Tubi just has the animated series.
Great. They don't even have the Jaden Smith, Jackie Chan one. They don't
No.
have that one.
No.
Not
Disney
that
Plus.
Disney Plus. Yeah.
And the next Karate Kid. Those two movies are on Disney Plus.
No love
Hulu.
for the next Karate Kid at all. I mean, is there not anything there? I mean,
No,
not-
the next Karate Kid and the Karate Kid 2010 are both on Hulu. The last time I checked.
no, I
at
meant
least
like
Disney Plus.
personally though. Like any personal love for either of those movies?
Nope.
For me, so I don't love the next Karate Kid, but there's a lot to like in there. You know,
Mhm.
it was just like a poorly written script, and they
Yeah.
gave like Mr. Miyagi a new name. That's just like the filmmakers not knowing that
Mhm.
his name was like in Japanese, like in the first movie, shown
Yeah.
somewhere. So it's not
Was it
Kisuki.
Christopher Kane was the director? He did like Young Guns 2 or something, which you would have thought like was gonna
Yeah.
be good.
I was actually in correspondence with like the director of, excuse me, of the 2010 remake, but then he ghosted me.
Ah. Yeah, I think.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, the next Karate Kid had some decent moments. It has a terrible fight scene with Miyagi and Michael Ironside at the end. That's
He kicks the most ass in that one, though.
he does because he's like also first billed for the first time. You know, he's top of the cast, and you know, to bring it back to Buffy, when Hilary Swank was the main character, I was like, ew. This is the girl. This is like Buffy's shitty best friend who like constantly is trying to betray her and like just make her look bad and even sells her out at the end of the vampire. I'm like, I don't like her. She's anti-Buffy. How am I supposed to root for her in a Karate Kid movie? But I don't know. I guess they should have got Christy Swanson to play the next Karate Kid if they were smart, but that's just a personal preference. And
well, I mean, she probably had done some stuff by then, though, right? I mean,
I guess
Hillary was still relatively unknown. That was pretty much like her first lead role.
Yeah, that's true. Because I mean, it was in 96, 94. Oh, 94. Oh, so it's it's celebrating its 30th anniversary. Then I'm gonna have to go rewatch it. But yeah, so I guess if y'all don't have any other thoughts or closing notes, Chris, please. We went a little long tonight, so we can
it's
wrap
worth
it
it,
up, baby. Oh, definitely worth it. This is when you know we have a good discussion going, is when we're pushing that 2-hour mark. Because we don't really
apologies
do that
to your listeners. And
no,
my allergies are killing me.
Well, that aside, but it wasn't as bad as you think. I think that's fine. I think they'll more than make up for it with the knowledge that you dropped and some of the stories you shared. And
absolutely.
Oh, did I ever tell you guys about the time that I took Elizabeth Shue out on a date in Ferris Bueller's car?
No, but I will say hello for you when I see her in Pittsburgh in August.
She probably doesn't remember. It was a long time ago, but yeah. Tell her I said hi.
It was pre-Karate Kid. It's fine.
Yeah, that was one. She babysat me.
She groomed you.
Oh shit! Yeah, definitely don't say that. Chris, please do the closing
babysitting, huh?
Yeah, that was Adventures in exactly. That was her first kid.
Let me ask you guys this, because I think it's fair to say that we all like the Karate Kid and Back to the Future, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Were you guys more of Allie with an eye or Lorraine?
Allie with an eye.
Allie with an eye.
Yeah, because like
interesting.
Well, she's not the first Lorraine, so it kind of was really confusing, especially when I was a kid.
She is the first Lorraine.
Well, you know,
she wasn't Elizabeth Shue wasn't the first Jennifer Parker.
That's what I meant. I didn't mean Lorraine. I meant
making
Marty's
us look
girlfriend.
bad, Steven. Jeez.
Damn
No,
it,
I'm
Chris.
talking about Marty's mom.
Well, yeah, but as far as like Elizabeth Shue, so you're saying Allie with an I or
Lorraine Baines.
You know what I was thinking? I thought you were trying to say like which Elizabeth Shue performance you liked more.
I've never considered Elizabeth Shue Jennifer Parker.
Yeah, because it's really weird. But I mean, if I'm picking between her and Leah Thompson, I mean, I would probably still go Allie with an I, unless you're talking about Leah Thompson and Howard the Duck. Then that's a game changer, man. Beverly is a game changer. I like the pawn Lorraine.
Did I share my Leah Thompson story with you?
Yeah, you did when we did the Howard the Duck episode. Yeah, that's
no. I don't think
had that not happened.
Maybe it was on Bratz, because this was just last year.
When you met her,
a year and a half ago, when I met the cast of Back to the Future.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Maybe you did off the episode or something, but
that could be. But so the cast of Back to the Future was supposed to go to Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle back in 2020, March of 2020, and I had tickets to go. And originally, like, because it's in Seattle. And I just kind of casually mentioned it to the wife. I go, the cast of Back to the Future is going to be in Seattle, and she's like, "Oh, do you think about going?" I go, it's a little expensive. It's like over $1,000 for the package I want to get. And she's like, "Well, you should go. It's your favorite movie." I go, "Really?" And so they got me tickets, and then COVID happened, world shut down, and they got canceled. Yeah. And then 2022, they were going to come to Portland, or yes, they were. I think 2022, January 2022, they were going to come to Portland, and then Omicron, the new strain, happened, and then they canceled that. And then the following year, 2023, they would come, and that's the one I went to. So I had a third chance to meet them, but
third time's a charm.
Third time's a charm. And
I hadn't had any chances, so you're good.
They didn't go to Yellow City Comic Con, Chris.
Damn it.
You got to fly to some of these to make them happen,
Erica, a friend of our show.
To Portland. I'm staying with Peter.
Yeah, I mean, well, a friend of our show and a guest, Erica, that's what she does. I mean, she flies all over the country. She flies to Texas. She flies to California. Wow. She flies to New York. And she's a horror aficionado, so she goes to the horror cons.
I heard a different word at first.
No, okay. I always say it wrong. I need
a horror. Steven.
I know. Damn it.
Scary movie.
Scary movie place.
With Leah Thompson, yes. So the story, Chris, if you don't know, like I know that these actors and celebrities, they see fans all of the times, and I'm trying to think what's a question they may not get asked a lot, like often enough, or maybe once in a blue moon. And so when I was getting my autograph from Leah, and also selfie and and all that stuff, so as she's signing, I go, "Do you still remember the lyrics to Hunger City?" And which is a song that the Cherry Bombs. Wait, was that right? The Cherry Bombs.
Cherry Bombs.
Is that what they were? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what they sing in Howard the Duck. And so she closes her eyes, kind of like bobs her head a little bit. She's like, "Yeah, I think I do." And then she finishes signing my picture. And then as she walks around the table, she starts getting into these rock star dance moves, and she's singing it to me.
Oh, that's cool.
And I look behind me, and like everybody in line is like all smiles ear to ear, and I'm just like, this is amazing. Leah
you lucky man.
And it was more than a few bars, and it's all just like, this is amazing. And I haven't seen any footage since it happened. So I think everyone was just like, what is happening? And so when she posed for a selfie with me, the first thing she did was put her head on my shoulder. And I think it was just kind of like, hey, thanks for a nice question. I don't know, but I have a picture of her head on my shoulder, so a little Paul Anka right there. Yeah,
I would definitely have. Never mind.
That is not a lie.
No, we believe you. No, your stories are true. Mine are possibly fabricated, possibly
borrowed,
absolutely fabricated. Anyway, did I ever tell you the time that I met Steven Sosa at high school? And
dude, that was a legendary moment, man. A wrinkle in time.
Okay. All right, closing us out now, guys. Thanks again. This is such an amazing show. Hope you stuck around all the way through the end. I know it's a little bit long, but it was an amazing one. Thanks again to Peter for coming on and just sharing all his amazing stories and everything that he's done with Cobra Kai and Karate Kid, the cast and everything. So wherever you're listening to us, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you're listening, go ahead, hit that subscribe button so you know exactly when we drop new episodes. And as long as you're here as well, go ahead and hit 5 stars on that review button. It just helps us get seen a little bit more in the podcast world. And then on the socials, whether it's Facebook, X, Instagram, Twitter, no, X is Twitter, same thing, TikTok, just look up Screen Addicts Podcast, look for our podcast art, and that is sure to be us. Then go back to the Facebook. I know it's just for us old heads over there, but we have really so much fun on our Screen Addicts Fanatics private group. That is where we're most active right now, sharing memes and trailers and all the things. So much fun there. So become one of our fanatics and request to be part of that group. Peter, I will let you go ahead, plug all your things. Where can people find you, follow you, and find all your shows?
Yeah, absolutely. If your listeners have not been sick of like me hosting this episode for you guys,
Heck no.
You can definitely find me. If Instagram is your thing, Kompanion Network is a pretty good account to follow because it does have links to all of my other accounts. Like the Obliterated Companion, Cobra Kai Companion, Twisted Metal Pod, because Twisted Metal Companion is too long, unfortunately. I'm on X. I'm mostly on Cobra Kai Pod on X. If you want to find me there. I have a group myself, the Kompanion Network, where I share all of the work that I do. But yeah, I'll be happy to share some stuff in the your guys' group as well. Maybe even my Miyagi video to kind of like tease up this episode. Because obviously we've been talking about it, and
Yes.
it's just something that like I've heard nothing but great things coming from like the long life Karate Kid fans. And again, I hadn't done anything that creative since like high school, and so I was really up for the challenge. And I was just so proud of Watch Party helped edit that video, and I wrote the script, and he gave me some really great suggestions on the formatting of it and adding this and removing this or amending this. And I just think I just wish more people would see it. So I think that's the thing that like I have all the interviews, right? But the younger content creators, they have like all the subscriptions, so like I'm over here with like the least, right? Like and I've been doing it the longest, but that just tells me that my demographic is people who want the interviews. Their demographic likes their short videos and straight to the point with information and stuff like that. I include that all on my episodes, so it's very much podcast first and YouTube channel. Very so many episodes. So like I have just under 300 episodes. It is all Karate Kid, Cobra Kai related. Very few adjacent episodes, but yeah, it's mostly those. But yeah, check it out, and I appreciate any support.
Awesome. I think that does it. Steven, anything else from you, my friend?
No, just subscribe and listen to the Real Problems podcast. It's streaming everywhere. I'm actually laid out a couple of episodes. I just need to record them. So working on the Mad Max Fury Road one next. It's a little bit of a preview. And yeah, that one's doing really well. Follow me on my socials at cinema_Steven, and it's all linked up with Screen Addicts and Real Problems. So pretty good stuff.
All right, guys. Thanks again. And as for me, good night.
Adios, amigos.